I want to build on that point because someone, I think I've talked about this on Dennis and Julie, but someone, I feel like I should or shouldn't say who it is. Whatever. Clarence Thomas told me this.
Oh, I know why. By the
And
way,
really
I just want to tell everybody.
I know. I don't know whether to say
I know.
it was
You
him,
don't want to
but
sound like a name dropper.
I don't.
Okay.
I don't.
It worked out because I'm very close to Clarence Thomas and his wife. That you got to visit with him.
Yes.
And I knew he would fall in love with you, and I knew you'd fall in love with him.
He is such a special person.
Oh no, he is a giant. He is a giant among men.
And so this is.
By the way, he gives the PragerU commencement address every year. We have a commencement
He's
address.
He's giving it this year.
Yeah, it's already given it. It's videoed. It's coming out any day.
That is a huge deal, Dennis.
It's
That's
a huge deal. Yes.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, yeah.
But by the way, when I met with him, he said to me that whenever people ask him questions about society, or he always points them to PragerU videos. And then he referenced the PragerU video on inflation. He said that.
Do you know how Clarence Thomas and I met?
Yes, I do actually, but you should tell the audience.
No. I'll tell it afterwards.
Okay, well, you can see why I was hesitating because I don't want to name drop.
Yeah, you're not a name dropper.
But
Go ahead.
I think it is worth saying that he told me this. And it changed the way that I viewed society, sort of the malaise that we're in. He grew up on a farm. And he said to me, when I was growing up, if I didn't, if my grandfather told me to close the chicken coop, I had better tell my grandfather the truth if I closed or didn't close the chicken coop, because the next day it would be abundantly clear if I did or didn't do it, because a dog would come in and eat the chickens. Or he said, growing up, if I didn't plant seeds, then, in 3 weeks' time, there would be evidence that no crops grew. In other words, in real life, honesty is not just a virtue, it is a requirement. But what he was saying is that a lot of the malaise that we're seeing now is concocted in classrooms and boardrooms. Like it is so academic and so removed from the realities of real life to pontificate about how there may not be only two genders or how you could defund the police. Like that shows such a stark lack of connection with the way the real world works. And I think that's part of the problem and maybe part of the solution, where these crazy kids, they need to go work on a farm, or they need to go have a real job where you can't identify as if you did or didn't do something. You can't say that punctuality is white supremacy. You show up to your damn job on time or you get effing fired, because that's the way the real world works. But I hope this is making sense, but I think going and just working, I mean, with the way Clarence did it specifically, working on a farm where the
consequences are obvious.
The consequences are obvious, and the rules of the world are the most applicable. The rules of the world aren't applicable in your Palestine encampments or in your classroom, or you're writing some BS essay about colonialism. These people need to get in the real world and see reality, not their crazy concocted academic reality. But I just wanted to give Justice Thomas, and I should have called him Justice Thomas and not Clarence. I would hope we were close enough where I could call him by his first name, but I should have called him Justice Thomas. But I want to give him credit for opening me up to that, because I realized how right he is. This insanity could only be concocted in boardrooms.
I want to tell people, because it so reflects on the type of man he is, how we met.
Yeah, tell that. It's a great story.
When was the Anita Hill hearing? Do you know
early 90s.
Early 90s.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's 35 years or 30 years ago, let's say. It's a long time. So I gave a speech at the Heritage Foundation at that time. Mm-hmm. In which I did what I had done on my radio show. I defended Clarence Thomas rather vigorously. That's when I came up, by the way. I don't know if you know this. You know my concept of the moral bank account?
Yes, I love that.
Which is a very wonderful concept. Everybody has a moral bank account like they have a monetary bank account. Your good deeds are deposits, your bad deeds are withdrawals. So I spoke about how he had a great moral bank account, and that mattered to me. So if he said pubic hair at a lunch with a woman, first of all, let's say he did. I don't believe he did, but let's say he did. That's proof of the thousands of proofs that feminism has made weak women, not strong women. If a woman is crushed hearing the words pubic hair, she's really weak. I mean, it's almost pathetic. Okay, just note that. But anyway, so I defended him at this speech at the Heritage Foundation in Washington, and it was on C-SPAN.
Yeah, C-SPAN.
Yeah, it was on C-SPAN. He saw it. And he contacted C-SPAN, and they gave him how to contact me. And he called me to thank me. I thought, that never happened in my life. That some public figure has thanked me for defending them. I've been doing this all of my public life. And it was such a sweet gesture, because gratitude is a beautiful trait. And anyway, the rest is history. We got very close.
I just have to say, and I don't claim to know him well at all, and I hesitate to bring up...
You know him well if you're with him for an hour.
I was with him for 2 hours.
Oh, then you know him very well.
He is a giant of a man.
Total.
He is not only an intellectual giant, but meeting him personally, and again,
Yeah.
I'm not trying to name drop, I'm not trying to claim I know
we
her.
know that.
But
you're right.
I have
on
to say
every
this.
level.
He's like living, like walking sunshine, and he
Yes.
has this magnificent, gregarious
Right.
laugh. He was so kind to me. He gave me 2 hours of his time, rapt attention, looking at me right in the eye, asking all
Right.
about me. No phone. He could have been like, "Oh yeah, well, welcome to the Supreme Court. I'll give you 5 minutes and then be on your merry way."
Right. And by the way, it's not, we'll say, well, young,
he's
pretty
been through
woman.
hell.
It was not, that's not the factor.
No,
I'm
not
not
at
I
all.
wasn't a young, pretty woman, and I got the same treatment.
And we had the most interesting. We had talked about Paul John.
He's special.
He is a class act, an absolute class act.
That's right. That's correct.
And by the way, maybe this is a little too much to say, but whatever. I think it speaks very well of conservatism that he's a conservative.